Numerous unfortunate events have been putting a lot of pressure on the global economy during the last 2 years, and as the war in Ukraine seems to be far from an end, economists are predicting a recession in the foreseeable future. So what exactly does a recession mean? What causes it? And how do we face it? The textbook definition of a recession is a significant and prolonged decline in economic activities that lasts for months and sometimes years. The stage of a recession is typically declared in a country when the unemployment rates goes up, retail sales go down, and manufacturers produce less products, which lead to a negative gross domestic product, which in simple words mean the total value of everything a country produces. A recession can happen for many reasons, like a sudden economic shock, excessive debt, asset bubbles, too much inflation, technological change, and too much deflation. However, in our case, a recession will happen if it did for none other than two reasons: a sudden economic shock and excessive inflation. From 2019 till 2022, the global economy experienced a really hard time trying to cope with coronavirus outbreak that freezed most of the economic activities. And just as things started to restore to normal, the global economy was shocked again with the Ukraine war, causing the global prices of fuel, cereal, and seed oils to skyrocket, rising the inflation rates to levels not seen for decades. However, most central banks around the world seem to agree on one strategy to fight the rise in inflation: interest rate hiking. The point of raising interest rates is to lessen borrowing, which will result less spending and by default lower inflation. The drawback of this strategy is that it could slow the economic cycle. For instance, less spending also equals less manufacturing, which will lead to job cuts and unemployment, and in other words, means a recession. There are a few practical steps that we can all do on an individual level to face a recession. The first step would be budgeting. During this period, it'll be better to postpone any major purchases you might have planned. You might also want to reconsider your buying habits and spend your money only on things you need rather than things you want. Emergency fund. Whether a recession happens or not, it's always important to have a little cash cushion. So make sure to have enough money to cover at least 6 months of living expenses in case of emergencies. Improve your marketability. During a recession, finding a new income stream can be really problematic, so try to learn a new skill or a new language to improve your probability of finding a job during a recession if you need it. A recession is a natural part of the global economic cycle, so whether it happens or not, we know it won't last forever. The Great Recession that happened in 2007 lasted only for 18 months, so just take precautions to guard your finances and you should be fine.
What I can tell you is the economy does not look great right now. Things are slowing down. You're seeing layoffs in many sectors of the economy. People are slowing down. The probabilities say if we're not in a recession right now, we're likely to be in one very soon. So my advice to people, whether they're small business owners or, is take some risk off the table. If you were going to make a purchase, maybe slow down that purchase a little bit. If you're an individual and you're thinking about buying a new, large screen TV, maybe slow that down, keep that cash, see what happens. If you're a small business, maybe delay some capital purchases. Do you really need that new piece of equipment? Maybe it can wait a little bit. Have some cash on hand. Just a little bit of risk reduction could make the difference for that small business if we do get into even more serious economic problems. So you got to play the probabilities a little bit.